Okay.
Hi there. I'm Michael Hill with Canine Chronicle TV, and for our NextGen series today, we have Holly Leftwich, who is associated with Badger Den Kennels for Finnish Spitz and Siberian Huskies with her mother, and has recently begun the endeavor of Hollywood Kennels with Pugs. How are you, Holly?
I'm fabulous. How about you?
Doing great. You down in Brooksville?
I am. It's beautiful.
It looks like it. I'm jealous.
Yeah, this is the best I've ever been here for. So
that's perfect. So we'll get right into it because I know you're busy. Let's start with how you first got started in the sport of dogs.
Long story short, it was before the internet, and my mother pulled out an encyclopedia and said, "I want you to read through these breeds and find the one that you like." And at 11 years of age, I found Siberian Huskies. Of course, I was drawn to the photo of the blue eyes, but, reading up on them, I just fell in love with them. And the person that I bought my first Siberian from was getting back into showing, and the rest is history. She even became my adopted mom later on.
Wow. Did your mom know that that's what the direction of a dog was going to take you?
She had no idea, no clue. She just wanted me to finally have something of my own because they had always had German Shepherds, and I wanted a breed that was for me.
So it was a dog family already, but you kind of took it in this whole other direction.
Yeah, my parents bred Shepherds that they used for, I call them, I guess, police dogs, but there's an actual name for this type of
dogs?
stuff. Yes, Schitzen, there you go. So that's what they were doing. But that really wasn't my thing.
So did you start showing dogs right away with that first Siberian?
I did. She, a typical first dog that you start with, she wasn't great. I got a couple of points on her, but I never did finish her because she wasn't exactly show quality.
But at least it got you hooked in the first place.
It did. Absolutely got me hooked. And, it introduced me to a whole new family, basically. And
speaking of family, who did you kind of meet early on that helped you get farther along in dogs?
Michael Brantley, who happens to be in the same town as me. I grew up in Lubbock, Texas, where he's from, and I actually went to work for him the first time when I was 13. So, he really helped encourage the handling side.
At what point did you know that handling was going to be a profession for you?
I showed dogs until I was about 14 or 15, and then I became a teenager, and it took a couple of years off. And when I got back into it at 19 and went to work for Michael on a full-time basis, I knew then that that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to travel for a living, and I wanted to be with the dogs all the time because Michael had all different breeds, and I just fell in love with that.
That's awesome. How long were you with Michael before you went on your own?
I worked for him for a little over 5 years.
Wow. So that was a long relationship.
Yes, and somewhere in there I went and worked for Brian Livingston for about 6 months. Had a blast with him. Brian's a hoot. And then came back and worked for Michael for another 4 years. And we actually, when I went out on my own, we actually traveled together. It was a great experience for me.
That's so
I didn't
cool.
get to do it on my own, but he was more than happy to help me.
It was like a continued support system past the employment.
Yes. I mean, it's the best kind of mentorship you could ever ask for.
That's really special. And I'm sure that helped you, feel what you're doing is worthwhile with all the work and, investment that goes in with doing that job.
Absolutely. As a young person, I finally got a little taste of the money, but I didn't fall flat on my face like some people might have because I had a great support system.
So crucial. How about in the breeding world? How did you get involved with breeding?
Well, when I was younger, it really wasn't on my radar. It wasn't something that I thought about it. When you're young, you want to win. Like you want to do this, and you got to learn a lot.
Competitive.
Yes, very competitive. And somewhere around, somewhere around mid-20s, I finally was like, I really, really want to be a breeder too, because my mother was phasing out of Siberians, and I realized I love them so much. I just, I convinced her to stay in it, and, I started helping more because I just wanted to be a part of that.
Yeah, and it's different if she's doing it by herself versus if you guys are doing that together, I'm sure.
Absolutely, and, now I I try and help as much as I can. And she unfortunately still has to whelp most because I'm never home. But, you know, I try and take them as early as I can to dog shows and training and stuff like that. I love the hands-on part of taking puppies and them.
What are some things that you keep in mind when you're trying to bring out the best in a puppy that you've bred?
Oh, the biggest thing for me is making them fearless. I have Finnish Spits, which are a breed that are feral by nature. And so if you do not start very early with hands-on and getting them with interactions with people and noises, you'll never fix them. Like there's a certain point where that breed just, you can't go back.
Yeah.
So for me, it's getting them out there, having my friends hold them, walking them around, having them on a leash as soon as I can, just things like that. And it's fun for me to watch the interaction with a puppy because, you know, who cannot smile at a puppy?
Right. It's not a bad way to have to, you know, spend your time.
Exactly.
And especially if you're already on the road at these dog shows, I'm sure that just provides a perfect opportunity to get that socialization in, which might be harder for someone who's in one place.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, it's harder sometimes because I travel a lot by myself to add the extra work, but it's so rewarding. It's worth it.
And then down the road when you're showing the dog, you're going, okay, yeah, that was good that I did that, probably.
Exactly. My current Finnish Spit special, I'm like, I'm so glad I got him out early because, you know,
it's not like it's not a one size fits all, right?
No. Oh gosh, no, definitely not with that breed.
So let's talk about the pugs then, because that's a very different.
Yes. I campaigned a black pug for a lady in Texas, just trying to get its grand, and it took me forever. And everybody kept saying it's really hard with black pugs, and I didn't believe them until I was in the thick of that one. It took me like 5 months to get his grand championship, and it would be big wins, like specialty wins that would get his majors and things like that. You just, for whatever reason, you know, black pugs are a little harder, but I fell in love with his temperament. I loved it. So then fast forward another year or two later, I campaigned this gorgeous bitch named Bronte, and I loved her so much. And I was friends with the lady that owned it, and I begged her, I was like, please, can I lease her and have a litter?
Yeah.
And she agreed. And so that was my first litter about 6 years ago now.
And now we have Hollywood Kennels.
Yes, exactly. And I'm getting ready to breed my first on my own litter.
Wow.
So
congratulations. That's a huge step.
I'm excited about that.
What are some things you're prioritizing in that breed right now?
Definitely health. That breed has a lot more issues than my other breeds. So, you know, good eyes for sure. And I don't have any breathing problems with the bitch that I'm going to start with and the dog. So I would like to keep it that way because so many of them have major problems.
Yeah. Right. Which is something you take for granted until you have a pug.
You do, exactly. I mean, there are a lot of, I can honestly say that all the pugs I've had have probably been in the vet's office for little things more so than any of my other dogs. Just, I mean, their eyes are constantly having problems or, you know, their allergy, things like that. Just, pugs are just sensitive.
Delicate creatures.
Don't tell them that, but yes.
They won't believe you. So let's go to, what are some of the most impactful memories you've had in dogs as a breeder, handler, owner, whatever?
The most impactful memories are almost all revolving around one dog. He was my first in everything, my first personal best of show and group win, and it was Badger Dinster barks a lot. We called him Barkley. He was a Finnish Spitz, and I was that little snot-nosed kid that showed up at the National and won, and then won all the days following and became the #1 Finnish Spitz. And this was back when there was like 40 or 50 that actually showed up for the National.
Yeah.
And, you know, for Finnish Spitz, that's a lot. And, you know, he set the way for me and my passion for the breed, as well as, you know, realizing that I can succeed.
Right.
And at the time, I was still
sure
working
in a breed like that, there's an extra level of commitment that comes with that kind of lack of popularity or obscurity, I guess would be the right word.
Yes, it's one of those breeds you have to be passionate about and sell it, because I knew how good of a dog he was, and everybody else No, I've, even with like the puppies I have now, I'll be like, oh my gosh, to my friends, isn't this amazing? And they'll say, well, it's still a finished Spitz. And I'm like, I know, I know, but you wait.
Right. And every breed has to start somewhere, right?
Exactly. I mean, you know, the record back then before him was 2. He set the record for best in shows for 3 and for nationals for 5. And until last year, he held that record. So, you know, I mean, and now the best in show record, I think, is 4 and the national is 6. So, you know, I mean,
Progress.
Yeah, progress. But it just shows you, though, finished Spitz, just, you know, even when they're record setters, it's still not a huge record. It's baby steps.
Right. It's a different game, a longer game.
Yes.
Wow. So let's wrap up with, what would be some things that you have maybe taken in over your time in dogs that you think are meaningful, either for current professionals like yourself to be aware of, or advice that you give to newcomers to help create a sustainable life in dogs?
My biggest piece of advice, and it's something that, you know, is both a pet peeve and something that I'm proud of myself for, is working for somebody for as long as you can, soaking up as much as you can. There are so many learning experiences that people miss out on by not working for somebody for long duration and multiple handlers, because everybody does it different.
And it's like you're reinventing the wheel if you're trying to go at it on your own.
Well, you make it much harder for yourself when you do it that quickly. I mean, so many people just want to win or just want to make that money, and it's like, you know, if you do this the right way, you won't have to work as hard from the get-go.
Yeah. It's like going to get a degree before you go do your profession.
Exactly. And, you know, I see so many people that, you know, work for somebody for like 2 months and all of a sudden they're a handler. And, you know, or they just bought their first dog and they're a breeder. And it's like, you know, you need mentors for a reason. And part of that is, I understand that sometimes it's hard to find good mentors. I know that. But, you know, keep plugging away until you find one that fits and that, you know, you mesh well and you can absorb like a sponge, because that's what we need in sport.
And I think you made a great point about having multiple people, where you don't have to find one person who gives you everything you need, but taking what works for what you need from specific different people. Absolutely.
I mean, you can never stop learning.
I think that's a great point. Well, Holly, thank you so much for joining us on Canine Chronicle TV. We hope you have very good luck down in Brooksville and enjoy that weather.
Thank you. I'm going to. It's beautiful.
Good start to the year.